All right. Well, I appreciate you guys jumping in for part two. Part one was just to try to get your profile set up, and we gave you guys some pointers on how to generate some leads through some free channels that we have available through kvCORE, like posting those properties to your social. There's going to be a little bit more of an in-depth training on the next one about how to do squeeze pages and landing pages. But once all these leads, whether you input them yourself or whether you are driving traffic to your website and then the clients or the prospects are actually inputting themselves into your CRM, you need to have something that begins going out to them in order for them to be able to start receiving automations from you. So today we're going to cover the basics of the kvCORE campaigns. So the kvCORE campaign manager is where we have all of the campaigns. Now we can either start from scratch and build campaigns, and I'll touch a little bit on how you can do that. But there is a library of kvCORE campaigns that are already preset in our office back end. And I think the easiest thing to do is to take the campaigns that are in there and then just modify them to your liking. Okay. So we're going to walk into the kvCORE dashboard in just a second here and learn the basics. And I'll touch briefly on some advanced features for those of you who want to play around a little bit with it. You can dig in a little bit deeper when you have time, and you can even reach out to me directly, and we can maybe sit down and do a one-on-one in order to get your campaigns really fine-tuned to the way that you like them. But I think that after today, you'll be able to at least have a basic understanding of what the campaigns are, how to have them triggered, what the campaign logic is, and the importance of being able to automate these behaviors. Because once the leads go into your CRM, you want to be able to maintain that constant follow-up. Those of you who might have taken some coaching from either Tom Ferry or some of these other coaches talk about the 33 touches. Now, Jeff is a big proponent of the 33 touches, and those 33 touches can be any number of formats. It could be a phone call, it could be a text message, it could be an email. The truth is when you stop and think about 33 touches, it seems like it might be a lot, but in reality, let's say you send out one monthly newsletter to your clients. Okay. That's 12 touches. Let's say you follow that up with, a text message once a month directly from you saying, hey, how are things going? How's your home search? Or, hey, you were doing a property valuation on my website. Have you still considered, are you still considering selling? You do that once a month. That's another 12 touches. That's 24 touches right there. So it isn't really hard after you've done a newsletter a month and a text message a month to reach out another 8 or 9 times and get your 33 touches in. Okay. So don't be intimidated by the fact that there's, a lot of required follow-up. They say the money is in the follow-up. Well, it's true. But if you can automate a good portion of that follow-up, it's going to make your lives a lot easier. So we're going to go into, we gave a brief overview of kvCORE. Those of you who were here in the last meeting know that we were sort of walking through the profile and figuring out how to get the information into your profile so that everything that we send out with our automation is branded and uniform across the board. Now, this is also going to be recorded and uploaded to my YouTube channel. So those of you who are watching after the fact on demand, hit the like or subscribe button. And those of you in the meeting now, when you get a chance to get over to my YouTube channel, hit the like and subscribe button. That's going to make it possible for me to make more of this content. And I appreciate you for doing that. So we're going to access the campaign manager. Now, what we do when we get into the campaign manager is the same as what we saw last time, is to get over to your dashboard. Your dashboard is where you're going to see all of your controls for everything within kvCORE. Now, I like leaving my left-hand menu panel open with all of the descriptions, but if you hit this hamburger menu here, it minimizes it so you can see more of your screen. I may go back and forth and do that while we're working on these campaigns, but you can leave it open if you'd like. I just like having a little bit more real estate on my screen to be able to work with. But what we're going to do is we're going to get into the campaign manager. The campaign manager is going to be where all of our automations live for anything that's going to be going out to our clients. And what I want to be able to do for you guys today is by the time we get done with this meeting, I want you guys to have at least one campaign that you can start automating to any leads that you've either put into the system yourself or leads that you're generating from some of the outgoing lead generation that we did last week. Okay. So, and if you would just save any questions that you guys have for the end, or maybe jot it down in a note or maybe put it into the chat, and then I'll try to come back and answer those questions when we get to the end. If it's something that's real pressing and you're trying to follow along and I skipped a step or I jumped through something too quickly, that's okay if you just jump in and say, hey, can you show me that again? And I'll go ahead and do it. But if it's just a general question, let's save it for the end. We'll do a quick Q&A for 5 minutes towards the end. Okay. Now, when you're in the dashboard of your kvCORE, there is a tab on the left-hand side called marketing. Okay. What you're going to want to do is hover your mouse over the marketing menu option and then go down and click on smart campaigns. Now, once you've clicked on smart campaigns, you're going to see mine is populated full of a bunch of different campaigns. Yours may not have anything in here right now. Now, campaigns are automations that go out to your prospects, and you can trigger these automations to contact your prospects in a variety of different ways. We have the ability to send out text messages. We have the ability to send out emails. And then we have the ability to send you, the agent, a reminder as well. So those are all the different types of contacts that can go out. And you can see in my campaigns, it tells you the number of touches and the channels through which these campaigns are going to be reaching out to the prospects. It also tells you who the intended target is for the campaign. But I'm going to start this and assume that most of you don't have any campaigns in the list right now. Some of you might, and that's okay. But if you do, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the very beginning of what builds a campaign and start from there. Now, if you go into the kvCORE library, inside the kvCORE library are all of the different types of campaigns. Now, I believe there's something like 27 different prefabricated campaigns by the folks over at kvCORE. These campaigns vary from nurtures to conversation starters for buyers. They go through renters. They go through sellers. They go out to your sphere. There's a bunch of different campaigns that you can start with as your base. Now, I wouldn't recommend just transferring over any of these campaigns from the library directly into your campaigns and then just using them, although you can. It's probably the easiest way to get started if you're having some trouble getting things out. But what I would like to show you today is how to customize these campaigns and what makes up a campaign in terms of the actual components that are going to be set up. And you can change the order in which they go out and the types of contacts that are made with the client. So I guess I can just ask the group really quickly here. Would you prefer we build a buyer campaign? I know we're going to probably get a variety of answers here, but would you prefer that we build a buyer campaign or a seller campaign? What types of leads do you guys all have the most of that you'd like to automate for right now?
Buyer.
Buyer? Okay.
Buyer works.
Buyers, okay, and the same thing will apply to your seller campaigns, and so you'll get the gist of it. If you have more sellers, especially if you're a more established agent, those of us who are newer agents, we tend to have a lot more buyers that we're working with, and so it's easier to automate for them. But the basic principles carry throughout whatever your campaign is going to be. So I'm going to go ahead and just select the one of the buyer campaigns that has a variety of contacts. And you can see here that the channels that go out can be a task. Those aren't the ones that I would use because those are only reminders to you, the agent, to do something. We want to have some automation that goes out. So we're going to go to a default new lead buyer. And you can see that this default new lead buyer is created for a new buyer lead. And it has tasks in it, but it also has calls. It also has emails and text messages. It's got 43 touches. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the button to the right of this campaign that says add to my library. Okay. It'll say campaign was successfully added to your campaigns. Now, if I go back over to my campaigns, remember that was the one that said, default new lead buyer. Okay. So if we were putting out lead generation through our Facebook or Instagram or Craigslist or any of these other places where we can actually try and generate some leads to come in as buyers, they're going to come in as a new lead and they're going to come in as a buyer lead by virtue of how they were driven into your CRM. So when they come in as a new buyer, we want to have something that starts going out to them. So let's take a look at that campaign, default new lead buyer. Now, when it comes into your campaign library, your campaigns, it'll show up with a lock beside it, which means you can't edit it. We're going to want to make sure that we can go in and edit this campaign. And it also comes in as a campaign that is not active. So when you see the status over here, there's going to be a slider that tells you whether the campaign is active or not. We're going to make some changes to this campaign before we take it active. And that way we can actually not only change the language of the outgoing information that's there to make it sound more like us, but also explain what triggers the campaign to go active and what that campaign actually looks like from the inside. Okay. So when you click on that campaign, go ahead and click on the blue description that says default new lead buyer. It's going to show you all 43 touches. Now, those 43 touches go out to 720 days. Okay. You don't have to have a campaign that's that extensive and outgoing, but there are a lot of these campaign components that you can eliminate or change. A lot of them are calls. Now, all these calls it's not the system will not call them directly unless you instruct it to. In this case, this is a task reminder in which the system reminds the agent to make the call and to leave a voicemail. It's just a flow chart of events that are going to be going out to your campaign. So we're gonna create this new campaign. We're gonna understand the different types of triggers that go through it, and we're gonna try and identify the purpose and goal of what the campaign is going to do. In this case, we're talking about a buyer. But the first step is to you can jot this down on a piece of paper if you'd like, and make a flow chart of how you would like the contact to be reached. It's gonna start out with an initial text message from you. The minute the lead is actually created, or the minute you actually assign this campaign to a lead that you already have, the first thing that's going to happen is it's going to send out a text. Okay. Let's see here. Let me go back in here. At 7 minutes, so it's immediately reminding you that a text has been sent out and it's asking you to make a phone call. Now, the preset campaigns have system to agent actions that I don't think are as important as the agent to the contact items. Now, these individual components are found in your templates. The templates are preset pieces of the campaign that you can plug in to fill out the flow chart that you've written out on paper. So let's say, for example, you say to yourself, I want to have a campaign where the first thing that happens is that a text message goes out introducing myself and inviting them to come look at my website. The second thing I want to happen is after the first day, after they've received my text message, I want them to get an email from me. After that, I want them to get another text message on day 2. Well, you can see the time frames are all along the side here, but what we're going to do is we're going to modify this campaign and either take out or put in pieces, template pieces, that are going to fill in the components of the flow chart that you've drawn out for yourself, for your client. Now, you can use this basic flow chart that's already here and change it. If you don't want it to go out quite as far, you can just say, look, I want to have like a 90-day campaign to the new buyers, and then take and build the pieces of your 90-day campaign or 180-day campaign and remove all these pieces. Now, in order to remove pieces, you can't really remove any of this stuff. Hang on just a second. Without understanding which pieces you're removing and why. What I would do before you modify this campaign is I would clone the campaign and name it something that you are going to be able to easily go back and search in order to find the modified version of this campaign that you're going to be using. So the first thing you do is you're going to hit clone campaign. Okay. So what it's going to do is it's going to take all the pieces of this campaign and it's going to make a copy of itself. Now, the first thing that it's going to ask you before it makes a copy of itself is what do you want to be the trigger for this campaign? Do you want it to trigger when the lead is new? Do you want to trigger when the contact is transferred from another lead type, or do you want it to start when the hashtag is whatever the hashtag that you want to create for it is? We talked a little bit about hashtags before and how useful they can be, because what you can do is not only are your leads, when you import them, automatically hashtagged with information, let's say like the import date, but you can go back in and pick all of your buyers and hashtag them with the word buyer. So if we were to go in and look for hashtag buyer, if that hashtag doesn't exist, you can create it by pressing enter. You type out hashtag buyer. Let me just double check to make sure that we don't need. There's already first time home buyer. So you don't need to put the hashtag in there. You can just type the word buyer. It will automatically hashtag it for you. So do not type the hashtag. Just type the word that you want to be following the hashtag. And if it does not exist in your hashtags already, you can see mine already has a first-time home buyer as an existing hashtag, but the word buyer, just the simple word buyer, does not exist in my hashtags. So I'm going to press enter, and it will create a campaign that will activate whenever my lead has the hashtag buyer beside it. Okay. Now we'll get into some advanced triggers later, but I would not do anything else other than make it such that your lead will be. Your campaign will be activated whenever the hashtag on your lead is buyer. Okay. Now, right now it says always run. So what that means is that the campaign will be assigned to contacts that meet the criteria, whether they've already got the assigned campaign or not. So that means that if you've already got leads in your database that have the hashtag buyer, it will immediately go and start automating this campaign for them the moment that you do that. I would say not to make it always run. I want you to be able to turn it on and turn it off as needed. Okay. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to hit next, and I would not leave it locked because we're going to modify this campaign. You don't want it locked. Otherwise you can't make changes to it. You're going to hit next, and it's going to ask you who the campaign is designed for. We've already decided that we're building this for a buyer, so you can select and make sure that the word buyer is highlighted in blue, and then hit next. And then you're going to give it a name. Now, here's where I would say it would be important for you to be able to track these ones that you've modified more easily than having to search through a lengthy library of campaigns. And the way that I do that to make them easy to find is I will put a star DS, and then you can put a dash or you can put a space. I like the dash personally just because it looks better for me. And then new lead buyer. Okay. Now, the reason for the star and the DS is because there's a couple ways you can sort your campaigns later. And the fact that you have a star as the first character will automatically make that lead campaign show up at the top of your list if organizing alphabetically. Okay. So it would just make sense. And you don't have to put the star, but I like it that way because it pushes it to the top. And then if you actually have several of these starred campaigns that you've created, you can search for all of the campaigns that have your initials on them. And that's the way that you're going to know that you modified this campaign. Okay. Then when you hit next, it's going to ask you to review. It's set up for me. You're the agent that it's going to be running for. It starts whenever the hashtag is buyer. It's designed for buyers. The name is star DS new lead buyer. And its description was what was already in there. System default for buyer leads whose status is new lead. Okay. So I'm going to finish. It says campaign was successfully added. And I'm already in this campaign now. It's got me inside of this campaign. You can see that the campaign that I'm already working on is now the star DS new lead buyer campaign. Now, I'm going to back out just 1 second so you can understand something about templates. This campaign already has the pieces plugged in that make it run. Okay. But those pieces can be found if you want to add to or take away from the pieces of the campaign and either make it longer, shorter, or just change what's makes up the campaign. Those pieces are found in templates. Now, inside of templates are the little components that make up all of those contacts, all of those tasks and contacts that you have for your campaign. There are emails that are templates. There are text messages that are templates. There are call templates and there are task templates. Now, I don't use the webhooks. I've never used a webhook, and you can see I don't have any in here, but there's really four main components to your campaign. Either an outgoing email, an outgoing text message, a reminder for you, the agent, to make a call, or the reminder for you, the agent, to do some sort of a task. That task can also be telling kvCORE to move it from one type of lead to another. Okay. But we're just going to focus on the emails and text messages for today, just because, we could go into this, could be a 3-hour presentation if we went through every single modification you can make to the template. But the templates are necessary to understand that these are the components that make up your campaign. So when I go back into the campaigns and I search for anything that is star DS, it's going to bring up everything that I have available that is a star DS. And you can see the one that I've got here is a new lead buyer. It's the 43 touch campaign that we just created, and it's not active. I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to start modifying these pieces, which come from the templates, so that it sounds a little bit more like myself. Now, immediately it's going to, I don't mind having an immediate reminder that tells me that the agent, it's going to tell me to send a text or an email with properties in their area. Now, it's not going to send this text out to them directly. This is telling me, it's running immediately, and it's the system telling the agent to take this first action. Okay. Now, anything that goes out to the prospect from kvCORE in the form of a text message is going to go from your smart number. Now, we talked about this in the last meeting. Most of us don't have the smart number that is dedicated. Most of us have the round robin smart number. If I click on that smart number, bear with me just a second. I know I'm backtracking just a bit here, but if we go into the lead engine and we go to where it says call and text capture, you're going to notice that there are the smart number here is going to tell you whether or not you have a smart number that you've paid for. And of course, you're going to know whether or not your smart number is your smart number or whether it's the round robin smart number. If you don't have a smart number, I would be reluctant to send out text messages from your campaign, because if the prospect responds from a number that is not in your system, their response will not necessarily go directly to you. It may be worth the $27 a month, I think is what it costs to get a smart number. So, it's all up to you whether or not you want to get one. But if you were to click on where it says order now, you would get your own personal smart number. Actually, let's do it a different way. You go to the marketplace over here. When you click on the marketplace, you can get a smart number add-on by clicking down here. When you do that, it allows you some extra functionality that kvCORE makes available to you, and it's $27 a month. You will get a dedicated smart number if you do that, and then all of the automations that you send out from your marketing campaigns, and whether or not they actually are in your database or not, will still go directly to you, and it will capture that lead for you. It might be worth it for some of you to get the smart number, but if you don't have a smart number, it's fine. But just understand that any of the outgoing automations that you send out, you better make sure that the prospect is already in your lead database, in your CRM. Now, obviously, we're not going to be sending out automations to anybody that's not in our database. So for the purpose of this exercise, it's fine if you don't have a smart number for now. You can start creating some automations, but what ends up happening is if somewhere down the line you do get a smart number and the prospect saves your round robin smart number in their phone as your contact, then there's going to be some disconnect somewhere down the line. So before you really get off and running with these, elaborate campaigns, it may make sense to get yourself a smart number. It's almost instantaneous. I think when you assign yourself a smart number, you'll get an email within a couple of hours telling you what your new smart number is. It might be worth it for you guys to consider that. But if you don't have that, I'm still going to show you how to build the campaign. And if you do not want to use the automated text and you'd rather you send the text out yourself, just understand that that you won't be able to use this text piece in your campaign if you decide to not use the round robin smart number for outgoing contact to your clients. Okay. But all of these pieces, the task, the call, the text, the email, all of these things, as you can see, came from the templates that we looked at just a moment ago. Now you can add or remove these actions by either clicking the remove button. You can also edit the content within those actions, or you can put a brand new action by clicking the green add action button. So if you've got something in mind as far as a flow chart, how you would like to reach out to your prospects, let's say that you already have a process that you follow, which is you send them a text message and then you call them. Well, it's already reminding you to do that. But let's say that at that point, after that, you want to send out an email. You don't want them to get a text from you at first. And let's say you don't even like this text message. Let's edit it and see what it says. It says, it goes out, you can see which template it's using for this text. The buyer immediate text template is what it's using for this text. It says, hi, thanks for requesting property on our site. Just curious, are you actively searching for a property or just browsing right now? And then it has this agent underscore first name underscore. Well, you see what it says. It's got the brackets. Now, these brackets are they're hotkeys that pull information from your profile so that you don't have to type your name in here every time. Now, you can type your name in here if you'd like, if you think it's cleaner that way, or you can use these merge tags. They're called merge tags. Okay. So when you have a merge tag, it's a bracket with this information inside the brackets. And you can see that it automatically uses merge tags in a lot of the templates. And in this case, it's just merge tagging my name, my first name. So it's going to say, hi, thanks for requesting property on our site. Just curious, are you actively searching or just browsing right now? Question mark, Dennis. Okay. You can see what this action's settings are. It goes from the agent directly to the contact. And it goes at 7 minutes after the lead is contacted, or after the lead is created, or after the campaign is assigned to a lead. So the clock starts running the moment you turn this thing on. And if you've got a bunch of contacts that are already hashtagged as buyers, the moment you run this campaign, 7 minutes later, it's going to send out this text message from you. Okay. Now, if you don't like the way that sounds and you want to modify it, you can just do it right here. You can just start typing something else in place of what the template had. Now, when you start typing something in place of this template, I'll show you. Let's say hello there instead of hi. It says, this template cannot be overridden because you are not the owner of the template. Again, it was using a template from within the template library. So in order for me to modify this, it's going to ask me to rename this template as something else. The template was buyer immediate text. So let's just say I wanted to call this star DS buyer immediate text. Let's say I like hello there better, right? Than hi. Oh, I don't know. You can make it sound like yourself if you want, right? And once I've done that, it's going to add this template component into my template library that I can use for other campaigns. But for now, I'm just going to save this. And now this first text message that goes out 7 minutes after the lead's been assigned to this campaign is going to say what my new buyer text template says. Hello there. Thanks for requesting property on our site. Now, you can go down and do this same exercise by adding, removing, or modifying any of these other components within the campaign. Okay. The next thing is at day one, an email is going to go out from the agent to the contact. If I edit this, let's take a look and see what this email looks like. Thanks for checking out. And it's going to merge tag. This is called a merge tag, your agent site. So it's going to say, thanks for checking out dennissalazar.exprealty.com. Are you looking to buy soon or just browsing at this point? Regards, merge tag agent's first name, merge tag agent's last name. It's going to fill in all that information from your profile. Okay. Now, merge tags are found here on this drop down that it looks like a sun. You can see what the merge tags are. Okay. You can have, so for the agent, you can actually, instead of having it say merge tag first name, last name, it also merge tags my office name. It also merge tags my cell phone number. It also merge tags my email. And then it has a little bit of information in order to help you stay informed and find a great deal on your next real estate purchase. You'll receive occasional communications by email, text, and phone. Our intention is to provide you with the best service possible. But if you aren't happy with the quality content, you can easily unsubscribe at any time. And that's required to say that because we are required to give them the option to unsubscribe from our automations. And it may be different in your local market on how and what to do when it comes to giving an unsubscribe option. But I believe it's pretty much universal that you have to give the prospect the option of opting out of your campaign. Now, again, these merge tags, it's got it separated here, agent first name, agent last name. If I wanted to just take that and put that as my full name, I can drop this merge tag window down and say agent full name. And you can see that it just changed that merge tag to regards, Dennis Salazar is a full name. If I don't want my cell phone number in there and I want some other number in there, I can take and highlight that merge tag and drop down a different number, my smart number, my cell phone number, or the primary phone number. But this is what's going to go out in the form of an email to the client. Okay. Now, if you don't like the language in here as well, again, you can modify this. If you modify it, again, it's using a template, and you can see that I've already modified the template by changing the merge tag. So it's telling me once again that this template cannot be overridden. I can't just change the way that their existing first email goes out. So it's going to ask me to rename that template again. And I would do the same thing. Give it a star, give it a DS, and you can call it the same thing. First email buyer. Okay. Once I've done that, I can save my changes. And I now have this first email that goes out to the buyer as the day one contact from the agent to the contact, 1 day after the lead was created or 1 day after the campaign was assigned to the buyer. Okay. Now we're going to just be able to do this all the way out to however many days you want to assign these campaigns. If you don't want to go out this far as 720 days, what this campaign is built to do is that if we haven't made a deal with the client in almost 2 years, it changes the status from buyer to sphere. That is a system to agent task, a status task that changes it for you automatically. I think that most of us would probably have already decided long ago, long before 2 years has gone by, to change up how we're trying to reach this client. Okay. So this is where you can go in and just remove pieces of this campaign and get it to be the type of campaign that you want to have. Now, in order to remove something, let's say, for example, there's calls all the way out here from day 120, 150, 180, 210, and 240. If you wanted to remove that, you just click the remove button and hit yes, remove. And you can just remove any of these pieces that you don't feel are necessary for you and your campaign to use. If you wanted to make this just to say a 90-day campaign or a 100-day campaign, I think that's pretty reasonable for a new buyer. You know, a few months of following up with a new buyer. You don't need all of these other extra pieces in here. You can just one by one click and remove them. Now, again, you can just build these campaigns from scratch and not have to go through and remove all these pieces. But for most of us who don't have campaigns made already, it's helpful to have some place to start, like an existing skeleton framework of what you want to do with your campaign. Okay. So I'm going to get rid of all of the things past 100 days so that I've got just basically a 90-day or 100-day campaign here for the client. And I'm going to leave the last piece, the one that moves it to sphere. I'm going to make that as day 101, and I'll show you how to change that. Okay. So I'm removing everything that goes out to that 720 day period. That's, I think, a bit excessive, and we'll probably have already moved them into a different type of a campaign by then. So you don't need all of the automations going all the way out to day 720. So I'm just one by one clicking through these. And some of these text messages like, oh, are you still in the market? You know, it's been a while since we spoke. You can change that and put that into your buyer sphere because it is a template piece. So you can say, oh, look, I don't want it to be in my buyer campaign because I want to be able to reach out to my buyers specifically and see whether or not they're still active or not. I don't want the automations to have to do that. Oh, did I delete the day 100? I did. That's all right. All right. So now I've gotten all of the pieces, almost all of the pieces out to day 720 removed from the campaign. So now I have got just how many pieces do I have here now? Got from day immediately 7 minutes, day 1, all the way on out to day 90. Okay. So now what we'll be able to do then is go in and modify these other pieces, add, change, remove, or replace any of these pieces. So now after it receives the email from me, the first buyer email, it's going to tell me on day 2 to call and don't leave a voicemail. Now, I'm always curious about this, but you guys probably have your own methodology about how you reach out to clients. If they received a call from you on day 1 and you left them a voicemail, if you don't feel like leaving them a voicemail on day 2, that might make sense. Otherwise, they might feel like they're getting hounded from you a little bit. So I think that's why these automations go in and say, call and don't leave a voicemail this time. Now it's just reminding you to make the call. Again, it's not going to call them for you. Okay. But you'll get a reminder. And if you have the kvCORE app downloaded to your mobile device, every time you open the kvCORE app, you'll see a list of reminders telling you, hey, you have 4 calls to make today. And when you open up that lead, it's going to say, oh, this is one of the day 2 calls. Don't call them, but don't leave them a voicemail. Okay. Then after that, it's going to send them on day 2. If after you've called and not left a voicemail, it's going to send them another text message. This text message is trying to find out whether or not they're an investor. Now, this is where changing these up makes sense because the automations and the canned templates that they plug in here sounds really impersonal. You just sent them a text message the other day. This text message, hello there, thanks for requesting property on our site. And then you're going to send them another text message that says, I saw you visited our website the other day. It's like, it sounds robotic to me. So this is where you would go in and maybe change the language of this to sound a little bit more personal. You can say, hello again. You can say, hello again. When we spoke the other day, comma, I meant to ask, are you an investor or are you looking for a primary residence? Maybe that sounds a little bit more like you. And again, I'm not going to go in and try and write these all for you. You can probably make it sound more like the way you would communicate with your prospect in a text. But what you're seeing here is now, again, I've got to rename this template. I'm going to call it DS. Are you an investor? And then I'm going to save that. It's going to go into my template library. And now that second email that goes out on day 2 is from the agent to the contact on day 2. And it's going to say what I now want it to say, which is hello again. When we spoke the other day, I meant to ask, are you an investor? Are you looking for a primary residence? Now, if you want to change the timing of these outgoing communications, you can do so by changing the unit down here to minutes, hours, days, and then changing the value here. If you feel like, oh, this is a text message that you'd rather have it go out on day 3, you can leave this as days and you can pick day 3. Okay. Once you do that, though, don't forget to go back in and save whatever change that you've made. Or if you've made some changes and you don't like them, you can always revert back to what it was before. If you start screwing things up and you feel like you don't like it anymore, just go back in and revert to your changes back to the original. Okay. Once you've built out your campaign with the pieces of the puzzle that are most like you and most like what you wrote down on your flow chart for the client, you can go back and just look at all of these. And again, this canned campaign has a lot of outgoing call things that I probably, don't necessarily need to be reminded, but it's not a bad idea to have them in there. What's going to end up happening if you leave all of these calls, these tasks to you is that you will have a dashboard that shows up with a bunch of reminders and calls that you need to make. If you don't check that often and you don't, here's all the different calls that I need to make. It's going to show that you have a bunch of calls. Like I've got a bunch of calls that I need to make today. And it's going to tell you, who you need to call. Now it's going to show you in kvCORE what you need to do. And you can either pick up the phone and call them, or again, if you have a smart number, you can use the kvCORE smart number to do this as well. But if you have your own smart number, you can just click the call button and it will automatically call them and ring onto your cell phone. And it'll show on their end your caller ID as the smart number. And this is why I would say, if you don't have a smart number, do not use this feature. If you don't have the dedicated smart number, do not use this feature, because unless they call you back from the number that you have in the system, which they likely will, but if they don't, they call you from another number, or they share their phone number with, hey, look, this agent's been contacting me, but my sister's the one that needs to buy a house. Hey, sister, can you give, this agent who's been reaching out to me a call? And they call you back on that smart number. The sister does, and the sister's not in your database. You just potentially gave another eXp agent in your market a free lead, because the phone's going to ring on their end, not yours, more than likely. It's very unlikely that you will accidentally get round robined the number, the incoming call or text message from somebody who shares your smart number with somebody else. So it's important, I think, if you have these campaigns going out and you're planning on either sending text messages and or making calls from within the system, that you have the smart number. It's just worth it. And it's $27 a month. And if it helps you generate more leads, it's a negligible amount of money for you to spend on your business. I mean, I know we spend a lot of money as agents anyway, but that's one that I think it would be necessary. Okay. So going back into this campaign, I'm going to just pretend that we've gone through, because we could go through and edit every single one of these, and it'll take us all of our hour in order to do that. Okay. But you get the idea, right? Most of you guys get the idea that you can go in and you can modify these, change them, save them as a new template. You can add something that doesn't exist if you feel like it's missing a step. You can remove something if you feel like that's an unnecessary step. You can go through and do that by hitting the edit button, changing whatever it is that you want to change, and then saving it as a new template, changing the timing on it if you feel like it needs new timing change, and just change all the content. Now you can go through and do this, at your leisure here, and go through and modify that. But does anybody have any questions quickly at this stage of the campaign modification? Everybody good? Oh, I see something in the chat. Let me go back to the top here. Is there any way to edit what the merge tag says? I think we covered that, Lisa.
Yeah, you did answer that question.
Yep. So you can drop down and you can just merge tag the direct phone number instead of the round robin phone number. And to your question about why is the default campaign thanking the prospect for browsing my website, because it doesn't know where you generated the lead from. And so because it's just a canned buyer campaign, it thinks that maybe this lead was thrown into your CRM by virtue of having visited your website. So some of the lead generation stuff that we did last week was to post links to properties and try and drive traffic to our website. For example, to look at a property listing. If the lead was generated by having visited your website, well, then it's just assuming that maybe that was where the lead came from. And it says, thank you for visiting my website. But if you met the new lead via in person, or if you are if you are going to be creating a campaign for somebody who you uploaded the leads for and they have not yet visited your website, that's where it's important to go in and modify the language of these outgoing communications to either be more general and apply to more people, or to be specifically geared towards the kind of lead that you plan to apply the campaign for. Okay. You don't have to have the new lead campaign go out to all new buyer leads. You can say new website buyer leads and make sure that the language that goes out to them is only the ones that have visited from your website. And then what you will do is hashtag the leads that came in from your website. They're already, you can see, I'll show you some that have come in from my website, but you can already see that there are hashtags created around the leads that are generated from an organic visit to your website. So you can, build campaigns around some very, very specific types of leads, or you can have these campaigns go out broadly to all buyers. It can be as narrow or as wide of a focus as you choose. And that will all come down to how you hashtag the lead. Okay, so Lorraine says, is the smart number added to our property boosts? That's a good question. I don't think that it is. And the reason for that is because the property boosts go out using Facebook marketing. Okay. And it uses Facebook advertising. And so because of that, I believe it's pretty limited. Facebook is limited, and we are limited by using Facebook on fair housing laws on how we target leads. We can't narrow it down based on age and demographic or any other protected class. And so it just broadly blasts out a geographic range. Now you can limit your Facebook campaign to if you're going to be manually advertising on Facebook, you can limit even a real estate posting and a real estate ad. You can limit it based on interests, I believe. So anybody who's looking at housing or real estate or things like that, you can narrow it that way because those aren't protected classes, right? Narrowing it down by virtue of somebody who's interested in real estate is not discriminating against somebody who's protected for not having looked at real estate. So you just can't say, I want, ages 55 and above because I have a 55 plus home for sale. Because now even though in reality, anybody younger than that wouldn't be able to buy that home anyway. The fair housing laws state that we can't discriminate against people of a certain age group or a certain ethnicity or a certain marital status, or anything like that that's a protected class. So those are the kinds of modifications you can make to the campaigns. I don't think anybody else has any other questions about modifying the campaign, right? Okay, good. So then what we'll want to do now that we have a campaign that is, let's just say we've already completed all of the modifications to the campaign, plugged in and unplugged all the pieces that we like. It goes out the number of days that we like. It's got all of the language within the emails and text message that sound like us. We want to have this start going out to our clients. Well, what we can do is we know that it's automatically going to go out to everybody who has hashtag buyer. Now, again, like Lisa pointed out, we may not want it to go out to every single buyer because the language in here might be such that we only want it to go out to the buyers that visited our website. Okay. So if I don't like the fact that it's going out to all buyers, I can go in here and say website buyer. And that might be a little bit more specific to what I want. Now, how do I get my leads to say website buyer? Okay. I'm going to go out and find I'm going to go into my CRM. I'm going to go into all my contacts. I'm going to try to see if I can find one that I know visited my website and is a buyer that I would like to start receiving this campaign. In fact, why don't I do this instead? I'm going to sign myself up as a website buyer. I'm going to go to my website. And let's say that you, in one form or another, drove a buyer to your website, whether through various forms of automations that we were talking about last week or some stuff that I'm going to show you going forward, like squeeze and landing pages. But in any case, they landed on your website, okay? And they went in for a search. Let's say you sent them a property listing, right? Let's say you sent out a property listing like we talked about last week, okay? I know we're getting right up to the end of our time frame here, and I appreciate you guys taking the time. But let's just take a quick look here, and let's say that somebody visited this link that you created from a post on Facebook. Let's just say, okay, they landed on this web page that we talked about last week, and they started clicking around, looking at pictures, right? And it's going to ask me to continue. Well, let me continue with Google here. And I'm going to enter my cell phone number because it's asking me for it. I'm going to say 602-359-6052. Okay. And I'm going to let's use that Google account. Okay. It registered me as a new buyer because I clicked on a property listing. Now, I'm going to go into my kvCORE and I'm going to see what it did to assign me as a contact, what it did for my contact here. It should be almost instantaneous. And if not, it might just take just a couple of minutes. I think when you and I did this last week, Lisa, okay, there it is. It has me in there, Dennis Salazar, a new buyer lead. Now, when I click on this, okay, it says the summary is that no activity. I haven't looked at anything yet, even though I haven't really looked around. It says that I looked at this property. It hasn't registered the fact that I've clicked around very much yet. So it doesn't have any information to go off of based on what I'm looking at. It tells me it was created by an organic site, but it doesn't have any hashtags. Okay. It doesn't have any hashtags. All it knows is that it's a new lead buyer. Now, if I had triggered my campaign to go out to new lead buyers, this would already have an active campaign, but it does not. So if I wanted to hashtag this as website buyer, it updated that as a hashtag. Okay. Now, I don't have that campaign designed to go out to hashtag website buyer active yet. So, and I believe that's probably the only lead I have in my database. So I feel okay just turning this on right now, but I'm going to go to my campaigns and I'm going to turn on the campaign that is active for any lead that has hashtag buyer. Okay. In a second here, so we've gone through all this. It just wanted me to jump in before I go to the next slide. Okay. All right, so I'm going to look for that lead campaign again. And I'm going to activate it by turning it on here. This will allow future actions to run for any lead assigned to this campaign. Okay, so now the status of this lead campaign is updated. It's going to run anytime that there is a hashtag website buyer. And what should have happened, if everything works correctly here, that lead that I just hashtagged as hashtag buyer or hashtag website buyer should now have automations being assigned to it. Let's take a look and see. It did not activate that campaign. I'm going to give it some time because it does have a little bit of a delay. And now it knows that I've also searched 3 beds, 2 baths around 330. You know, it did not have that information in there before. So it now knows what my property type is, 330,000, 3 bed, 2 baths. So there is, I think, a bit of a delay in here between when it gets created and what the automations that go out to it will be. Now, if it does not have the automation here within this next little bit, you can always go down here. Oh, see, look, I didn't do anything. It knew now. There it goes. New buyer. It got, oh, you know what? I have a different hashtag that automatically gets added to campaign. And it did this because now there's evidence that I have a different campaign setup because it added me to a new default buyer from this other system that I have because the status is a new lead and the hashtag is assigned a new campaign as a new buyer because I started looking at property. So I have a different set of triggers around this. But let's say I want to remove this campaign and I want to put it on the campaign that we were just creating. Now, the good part is that all of these starred campaigns that I've created are now at the top. I can just immediately select new lead buyer and add. So yeah, unfortunately, what ended up happening for me is that I already have other triggers built for what to assign a new lead, a new buyer lead once they've started looking at properties. Once they've started looking at properties, my system has already set up some triggers to give it that other campaign. But I've manually overridden that, and I've added the new lead buyer campaign that I just created for this lead because it's got a hashtag website buyer on it. Now you can now see that what's going to happen is all of the future touch points that you can see up here at the upper right hand corner of the lead, it's going to show what the future touch points for the client are. So today it added all this stuff. What's going to happen is it's going to get the first email from me on February 23rd. I'm going to get a reminder to call and not leave a voicemail. February 25th, it's going to get another email. And also a reminder to me to call and leave a voicemail. It's going to send out a text message. This text message is going to go out and it's going to say hello again, that modified text message that we've got. And then it's going to get on the 27th, all of these other touches all the way going out to ultimately May 23rd. All of the touch points that we created from our campaign are now inside of this lead where I can see what's going to happen. I can even delete these touch points so that it doesn't get these. Let's say that I've already reached out. Let's say by now, let's say they've by February 25th, I've already had a conversation with them. I know they're not an investor. They've already set up their own lead alert. I can either come in here and modify this campaign and just pause it or remove it. Or I can add them to a different campaign if I've got one built that's now more appropriate for where they are in the stage. Or I can go in and individually remove the future touch points from them. Let's say I don't want them to get the properties. Which properties do they like? Future action. I can just click the X on it and I can manually remove that one component from the campaign. Even though they're still active in the campaign, they just don't get that piece individually. I didn't modify the campaign for all the other clients that might be receiving it. I just modified what this client is going to see from within their profile. Okay. So I know we're a little bit over time, but we started just a bit late. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to wrap it up there because I know we're all busy agents and have stuff to do. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen right there. And for any of you who have any questions about any of this stuff, you're more than welcome to reach out to me directly and I can sit down with you and help you out with this stuff. Do any of you guys have any thoughts or questions about any of this stuff that we've done?
Yeah, I've got a quick question for you, Dennis. So under the campaign names, if you've got some in there that you just want to get rid of,
yeah.
Right? Let's just say, for instance, default new lead buyer, you clicked it twice like I did. I want to get rid of one of those just so it's out of the campaign list from my section.
Is this in your campaigns?
Yes.
Okay. So what you'll do is you'll notice there's a little radio button. Let's see here. There should be a radio button where you can remove the campaign. Let's see here.
That's what I was trying to find, and I can't find it.
No, you do it from directly within the campaign. So, for example, click, let's say, default new lead buyer or something like that, right? That's those default new lead buyers. I think those default new lead buyers are nothing but, or default active buyer. I think some of them are nothing but tasks to you. And if you want to clean up your list, let me share my screen again and show you where. If you want to clean up your list, in fact, I don't like the ones that are just tasks. I can just remove all those. So let's say we go in here and I click on default active buyer. At the very top, you can hit remove campaign.
So you got to go into each one. Gotcha.
Yep. So now that task campaign is gone. Default active renter. I don't want that either. You can see that these are just all canned campaigns of nothing but tasks. And for me, this was just a weekly check-in from the system to the agent. I don't need to be reminded for that. So I can just delete those. I thought that there was a radio button. I'm not seeing it on my screen anymore, but I thought what you could do is you could go in and click all these radio buttons that are for campaigns that you don't want. And I thought that there used to be a delete button up here or a remove campaign button. Let's see. Nope. Let me switch screens here real quick. Yeah, it looks like, unfortunately, you do have to go in and manually remove them by clicking inside the campaign. So just click into the campaign for the campaign you do not want. Come up here and hit remove campaign.
For most of us just getting into the kvCORE thing, it's probably simple.
Yeah, most of us don't have, 30 campaigns like I do. I don't even have all of them on though, so there's some that I created that were just for, for an example. Some of them I'm still kind of in, development mode and beta mode, like these recruits, like to recruit agents and stuff like that. We can use this system, guys, for all sorts of stuff, not just buyers and sellers. We can use it to attract agents and send them stuff and get them to understand how powerful these tools that we have are. But again, let's just take it a step at a time and let's generate some leads. Let's make sure that those leads get some automations from us, and let's make sure that our automations are clean and tight so that anything that is being shared with the clients is going to sound like us and is going to maximize and provide value to the client. All right. Anybody else have any other thoughts or questions before we wrap it for the day? All right, you guys. Well, I appreciate you guys taking the time again today. Let's see. There was a couple of text messages in the chat. Nope, they're all good. All right, everybody. Well, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Thank you for taking the class, and we'll be back again next week. We're going to do some squeeze pages and landing pages next week to try to give you guys some more opportunities to generate some leads. Those seem to be working pretty well, and they automatically get some hashtags. So we'll sort of touch back a little bit on the campaigns that are going to go out to the people who we generate leads from via these squeeze and landing pages. But I've got some good ideas for you guys on how to generate some traffic through those squeeze and landing pages, things like raffles and things like that we might be able to motivate people to click on our information and actually go over to our website. Not everybody likes to, click a property listing and, become a lead. They kind of they sniff that out pretty quickly once it asks them for their email. But if they need to sign up in order to receive something of value, Starbucks gift card or, Amazon gift card, something like that, you might be able to offer that in terms of a raffle and get them to fill out some information as a new buyer or as a new seller. Okay.
Thank you so much, Dennis. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks.